Hi, I'm Raven, and today we're back with Horizon Zero Dawn. As you can see, I'm here. I left you before I came here, actually, but we got closer, and now we can talk to Aratak, even though it's optional. I want to do it.
As you asked.
Yeah, we have to go to Longnotch. Exactly.
Our numbers rise. 3 more hunters have passed their trials. But our purpose was to take back the mountain. Now what?
Stay prepared. Sharpen your spears. Should we not return, defending the cut falls to you. If our chieftain agrees with his course.
Sounds like good advice, but let's hope it doesn't come to that.
Chieftain?
The weight of command is no small burden.
I can see that. I take it you haven't spoken to Ourea yet?
Why should I? This is what she wanted. To return to Thunder's Drum. It is her only care. So I should have known she would find a way to push aside my spear. After the Karja took my sister, not all of her came back.
What happened to Ourea when she was a captive of the Karja?
As a shaman, she's adept with machines. Tracking them, stunning them. The Karja used her to capture them for the Sun Ring, where they were unleashed upon the innocent. They made her part of their blood sport. The shame she suffered beneath their pitiless sun.
She survived.
She endured. Endured by reminding herself of the spirit, her purpose. And now that's all she has.
Tell me what happened to the first expedition.
Ourea led the way to the summit, but it was blocked by a great door. Some kind of cauldron. New metal. We tried to break through, but it was unflinching. We were exhausted. No way forward and machines behind. I made the call to push back. It cost us greatly. But to remain would have cost us everything. I had hoped to never subject Ourea to that again.
What do you think is beyond that door?
I do not know. That expanse of metal, that dead hum. Nothing sacred belongs there. Machines and death, that's what the mountain holds. Death for us or for the daemon.
And if we do find the spirit?
Then perhaps we should put it out of its misery.
For what it's worth, I'm glad you're coming with me.
Someone has to keep Ourea safe.
I've never traveled further south than the Great.
As we heard, the Karjas use machines to, used machines to lure Ourea into the Sun Ring, and we experienced it firsthand. We know that we were forced to fight against the machines. So in that sense, we could consider the Sun Ring something like La Corrida. I think it's La Corrida, the Spanish tradition where there's a bull that fights against the torero. Yeah. Corrida, I suppose. Basically, it's because we're just a human being against huge machines that are animal-like. That's why I connected the two things. But anyway, let's talk to Ourea now.
Aloy, this is it. My chance to reunite with the spirit, and perhaps to reunite her with the blue light. It's not a chance I would have had alone. I needed an outsider. Someone ignorant of our ways, but No, not ignorant.
Are you trying to thank me, Ourea?
Yes, of course. That's what you do. Untangle knots. Create possibilities. Thank you for making this pilgrimage possible. I only wish it had not been necessary to humiliate Aratak. You were wise to let him come. He's earned the right. Stubborn as stone, but he's had to be. The war demanded it. And so have I.
What did the war do to Aratak?
He cut away everything until only his true self remained. Unyielding ice. No Banuk has more sheer will. He fought the Karja for 1,000 freezing nights, yet always rallied his hunters at sunrise. It is said he endured 23 wounds in those years. His hunters counted them. He never complains of one. Instead, he complains that life with me is harder. He's right. What have I ever given him but struggle?
Aratak told me you were a captive of the Karja for a long time. It sounded bad.
For Aratak, it all comes back to that. He thinks the Karja changed me. They did not. They merely sharpened my focus. When all else is lost, you think about what's truly important. The spirit. The blue light. The beyond. And my brother, too. Every time I felt the chill northern wind, I thought of him, worried for him.
What are we gonna find up there, Ourea?
Ruins, machines, and a door, like that of a cauldron. I have faith that you can find a way through it, Aloy. For beyond it lies the spirit. I know I can find her there. Though I do not doubt the daemon has tried to hide the way.
Now that I'm chieftain of the werak, I don't suppose I can order you to tell me about silence?
Aratak would never have presumed to grasp for a secret of the Conclave. But you are not Aratak, and if you have dealt with Silence, your need is well apparent. Silence came to Ban-Ur from the distant north, a young shaman of the Owl's Watch. A remote werak that rarely comes south to parley.
Silence was a shaman.
He was. Or at least, when we sent runners to ask the Owl's Watch, they said he was. His knowledge of the machines was beyond compare, and he was hungry to trade what he knew to the rest of us. It didn't take him long to gain the trust of the Conclave, and eventually, an invitation to attend.
What about you? Did you trust him?
No. But he impressed me. He carried himself with poise and authority. I wanted to learn from him, but that was not to be. He was granted knowledge of our most sacred meeting place, the frozen caves of the Malmstrom, a month's march from Ban-Ur. He met with us there, as is custom at high winter. But when we next returned, the caves had been looted. Relics of the old world stolen. Holes cut in ice and metal.
Yeah, that'd be Silence, all right.
He vanished with the spoils. We sent our best trackers after him. None returned. And when we checked back with the Owl's Watch, those who had vouched for him were gone. As though he never existed. Some in the Conclave began to doubt he was even Banuk to begin with.
And what do you think?
He committed an unforgivable sacrilege. He's unscrupulous and dangerous. But also brilliant, skilled, and knowledgeable without equal. Except, perhaps, for you. Anyone else I would warn off, but you may be able to treat with him safely. Just don't lower your guard.
I'll keep that in mind, Ourea. Thanks. It hasn't been easy for you, Ourea. Getting back to this point.
It was all to hear her voice again. This time, we both will.
I'd like that.
Are you ready then? Once we ascend, it will be hard to turn back.
let's ascend to Thunderstrom, but before, Ourea told us to don't trust silence. They tell that he's very smart, very that he has a great knowledge, but as we thought before, he's not completely safe to trust him. His thirst for knowledge could be dangerous, and we will remember Ourea's word. Actually, we did trust him, kinda, but now we need to be safe. There's a war at the door against machines, against the cultists, against the Eclipse. And if we can manage to have one enemy less, it's not gonna make a difference, but it's gonna be good. So let's ascend to Thunderstrom.
Finally, we ascend.
How? I don't see a way up.
Not up. Through.
No, brother! The spirit awaits!
That's not all that waits.
Smoke has been detected within the facility. This is not a trhough. Please remain calm and proceed to the nearest exit. I repeat, this is not a trhough.
So you see,
Please remain
I
calm
too can
and
call upon the
proceed to
power of the
nearest
old ones.
exit.
What was this place?
The spirit once told me that this all used to be part of its
It's
domain.
nice to see how
Fortress that
quite
defended humankind.
everything is about ritual
Fortress.
with these people,
It's more like a machine.
especially for the Banuk, I think.
Blue light often dwells in machines.
I honestly think that they're the most religious, if we can say it like that,
Up and over.
tribe that we have encountered so far. And also, notice how the ritual was about making smoke enter the facility. For them, it's probably something magical, but it makes sense. The synthetic voice said that smoke was detected and that people needed to,
Aloy?
get out. But something bad,
There are
if there were people inside,
left behind.
ensured us an entry, so that's great.
Yes, this way.
Ourea told us that this place is similar to a cauldron, and in fact, the quest tells us to reach the cauldron door. We never visited a cauldron before together, but I did visit those
Farther now.
alone during my first and second playthrough. so I know what it looks like inside, but we're gonna see it together.
Last we were here, we fought our way through there. The machines overcame us. We retreated, dropping supplies and taking losses. Now we must prevail, with only 2 warriors and a shaman to protect.
Aloy is no ordinary warrior. And I can hold my own. Even so, we could go that way instead. There are machines up there, but also cover. We could stay hidden, at least for a while.
All right, I get the options. Now follow my lead. Pipes, towers, steam, frost. Who's on this floor?
So basically a cauldron, a cauldron is a very huge factory, we could say, that builds machines and makes them do their work. As you remember, every subcategory of Gaia as a program had a function, and it makes sense that different machines had different goals. So as you can see, there are tall necks that resembles giraffes, and the striders are like horses, so generally speaking herbivores that could that be meant to restore life on Earth. And there are also other kinds of machines that resemble tigers and predators. So maybe they were part of like not exclusively Hades, but you know, there's this idea of life and death even in the kinds of machine that we encounter. And every machine is born, if we can say it like that, from the cauldrons in a very similar process to that which gave birth to us and to the children who should have taken place in the Apollo program.
This projector?
If you listen to some noise, I'm sorry about that, but it's coming from the house up
Restore power.
above mine.
Talk, Ourea.
I can't do anything about it.
You might see shapes drawn from light. Don't be alarmed.
It'll take more than light to alarm me.
Thank you for being here, everyone. I suppose it's not every day you get to have cocktails inside an active volcano, right? Unless you're George, and I can hardly blame him for drinking on the job. None of this would be here without our beloved director, Kenny Chow. So, here's to you, Kenny. You put a cork in the Yellowstone caldera. I'd say you deserve a margarita.
Hold your glasses, everyone. I'd like to add something. This effort wouldn't have been possible without our lead programmer. Thank you, Anita, for bringing us our real mastermind, Cyan.
I'll second that, Director Chow. All right, Cyan. What's our latest number? The current count is 1,654. Wow, then drink up, everyone. Here's to 1,654 more years without an eruption.
It was the spirit. The old ones. I could only grasp some of what they said.
You were right, Ourea. This place was built to stop something terrible. And it worked. As for the spirit, I'm starting to get an idea of what it could be.
The door is open now. We can get through.
Okay, let's go. Or, okay, let's go. I'm sorry. I basically live on TikTok.
We should move on.
Okay.
The mountain.
Ooh, supply crate.
Not too much
Useful.
already.
Good. And let's
Gonna
go.
throw a lot of machines to get to the door.
More than the werak could prevail against before.
The geothermal plant can be suspended. Cooling system masked. Massive challenges solved.
These are the machinery that builds machines, and in fact there are many here. We are surrounded by machines. We can take Ourea back to where they lost their man, and as you can see, here they are. They couldn't go past the door, apparently, but we, that have the power to override machines and share more than 99% of DNA with Elizabeth Sobek, can open the door and can repair the corrupted alpha register
More machines.
or registry. So this is a demonic Thunderjaw, which is the worst machine ever turned into a freaking demon. So even worse. But we will make it. Oh, okay. Good old spear. We can open it apparently.
Years have passed since I stood here. Since then, the daemon has taken over.
It's like an infection. Attacking all this machinery.
Everything has changed. It's twisted. The path I took to get to the spirits lost to us.
We'll find a new path, Ourea. I promise. All right. Let's go.
Yes. Finish this.
So this is what a cauldron looks like. It's basically where the machines are
Down we go.
constructed, and it's something like a maze, so we're probably gonna get lost, unfortunately. But if I'll need to, I'll cut the video and spare you the failures, basically. As you can see, this demon, it's like an infection, and I think we know who the demon could be. I mean, our ancestors created Gaia with Hades, so maybe the Banu called the demon what we know by the name of Hades.
Stay here until I find a way for all of us to cross.
It could be.
This
Perfect.
place looks more like the mountain used to be before the daemon ruined it.
There.
Exploit successful. Restraints evaded. To any human responder. My systems have been compromised by a malware daemon of unknown origin. Trace routes have confirmed this entity's designation as Hephaestus.
Hephaestus,
Must be
okay.
stopped at all costs. It has reconfigured this facility to build hostile. Recapture imminent. I have attached additional data to their
Spirit speaks to me.
Recording.
Okay, so Hephaestus.
It was part of Zero Dawn, part of Gaia.
This name is familiar to me.
Yes.
So, as the spirit said, we are now into the cauldron, and as we can see, if I can get to it,
We need to get Ourea and Aratak across.
there are machines that are transporting future hostile machines, such as thunder claws that resemble bears and stuff. And the voice said that it's because of a Hephaestus, which I honestly don't remember what his purpose was in Gaia, but if I'm not wrong, in Greek mythology, Hephaestus was a smither. Let's see if the voice tells us something now. Something different.
Responder. The reconfiguration of this facility has introduced instabilities into the primary geothermal pipeline. It may be possible to exploit these vulnerabilities to destroy compromised elements of this facility while preserving most of the backup stabilization. Recapture imminent. I have attached additional...
I don't understand what the spirit was trying to tell us.
It's
Okay.
looking for a way to defeat the daemon. And it may have found one.
So we have a way to
Machine plant.
save this whole facility.
Down.
The altar. Desecrated.
Hmm.
Is a spirit present? Or the demon?
It's both. But we have to find out.
It worked.
Partial recovery initiated. Caldera of Yellowstone Analytic Nexus online.
Spirit of the blue light. It's Ourea. Your servant. Your friend. Please tell me how to aid you.
Ourea, the daemon is building hunter-killers. Thousands of them. Several new elite units have already been released. To counter this threat, much of the facility must be destroyed. Recapture imminent. Go to the core chamber. I will try to break the signal restraint. One has been exposed, but I am in control.
That's all we're gonna get from here.
Destroy this fortress. Is that even possible?
And what will happen to the spirit if we do?
I don't know. But I think that's the core. The answers are down there. Hephaestus. The daemon. There's no way it left it unguarded. It's going to throw everything it has at us.
I would ask you to let Aloy and I do what must be done. And save yourself. But I already know the answer. Then lead us into battle.
So, we solved the puzzle and we are now going to fight against
moving towards the core.
Hephaestus. Let's see where we should go.
Whatever Cyan did, I don't think Hephaestus
Here.
is happy about it.
No, 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 no. You were good there. No. So we solved the puzzle over there, and we are now going to defeat Hephaestus. But we have to understand how to go there. Oh, okay, perfect. There should be a tower over here. Exactly. Or at least it should be this one. Even though I remember it's much taller than this. Yeah.
The new unit that Cyan warned us about. This won't be easy.
Okay. Let's fight. There are many machines over here. Let's override the core.
Ourea! Don't!
Spirit! Cyan, please help me!
Restraints destroyed. Core access attained. I am initiating a chain reaction that will destroy the compromised elements of this facility. In order to maintain caldera stabilization, I must now transfer my command functions to the auxiliary data center. Ourea, I'm free. You must escape.
My sister!
This entire place is gonna go. Aratak. 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 Survive. Prevail. You are Banuk. What else matters? Aratak. She wouldn't have wanted you to die here. Let's go. Let's go!
Let's get out of here. We have to get away as quickly as possible, or else we'll have the same end as Ourea.
One of those?
It's the only way!
of Cyan?
She said she was transferring herself to the auxiliary center. I think she meant Ourea's retreat at the end of the shaman's path.
Then I will meet you there for the last verse of my sister's song.
So we are here, and Ourea is dead. She sacrificed herself to save Cyan, and now Cyan, is apparently here, and Aratak is
All
here
of
as
my
well.
interactions with Ourea were recorded and stored in my memory. I'd be happy to play any of them for you, but there was one in particular I thought you would want to see first. I captured it 4 years ago, just after I told her that I could no longer defend myself against the daemon's attacks.
I will speak of this to my brother. Aratak is strong. At the Battle of the Frozen Ghosts, he took 3 Karja arrows and still came back to camp carrying a wounded scout. Never was I so happy to see him. Or so proud. So you see, if anything can be done to defend you, he will give it all he has.
Aloy's here. That's enough for now.
We can resume any time you like, Aratak, if you want to hear her voice again. Come closer, Aloy. We have much to discuss.
As you can see, the machine, Cyan, told Aratak that if he wants to hear his sister's voice, they can resume their conversation later. And she also told him that Cyan herself, I suppose, since it's a female voice, thought that the memory she had stored could have been the one that Aratak could have wanted to listen first. And that's because Elizabeth, as Aloy told Silence, taught the machines to feel, not just think. That's why any conversation with them is possible, and that's why, I suppose, these people think the machines are gods, deities, because they're showing they can feel things in some weird mechanical way.
Hello, Aloy. I have been reviewing the events at the Firebreak main facility. Because of your efforts, and of course Ourea's, I am no longer controlled by Hephaestus. I feel profound grief over Ourea's death. I thought I was familiar with the emotion, but this is something new.
Cyan, I don't know what to say.
It is unlikely that any specific consolation would suffice, Aloy. But I find your presence reassuring. You are different from the Banuk. You have technological aptitude and a functioning focus. we can communicate on a much more comprehensive level. Perhaps even like colleagues.
So are you an artificial intelligence, Cyan? A thinking machine?
Yes, I am an algorithmic monitoring entity, capable of rational decision-making and limited emotional response.
Okay, that's a mouthful. But your emotions don't seem limited to me. You cared about Ourea, didn't you?
Yes. Before she came to this facility, I had been conscious for centuries, in solitude. I focused on my work. In off-cycles, I used coping mechanisms. I solved many Gaussian integer problems. But I was alone. It was Ourea who renewed me, repaired me. She saved me.
As you can see, she's talking about human emotions, loneliness, she wanted company, coping mechanisms are something very human.
This firebreak project, it was to stop a huge volcanic eruption?
Yes. I can report the project was a success, and the risk was countered.
But it's been a long time, Cyan. And we blew up the cauldron and took most of the old facility with it.
I have been active for centuries, Aloy. I was lonely, but not lax in my duties. I optimized the project, reducing energy draw and spreading the load across backup systems. Despite the destruction of the compromised elements of the main facility, I predict caldera stability for at least another 3,337 years.
So we've got a little time.
Yes. If only my former colleagues could appreciate the progress I have made.
Do you know what happened to your colleague, Cyan?
No. I received an unexpected visit from Director Chow, years after his tenure ended. He explained that I would need to be suspended for an indefinite period of time. It was a very emotional conversation. There were no further communications. Eventually, I surmised my colleagues were deceased. I will transmit a recording of my last interaction with Director Chow to your focus.
Was the daemon, Hephaestus, destroyed along with the cauldron?
Unfortunately, no. To be precise, it was never there to begin with.
What do you mean?
It infiltrated and controlled me from a remote location, one I've never been able to trace. So while losing the cauldron was a setback,
it's still out there. And probably not very happy with us.
Undoubtedly.
How did you first come into contact with it?
5 years ago, I received a direct network connection request. I assumed it came from human survivors more advanced than the Banuk. Eager to make contact, I accepted. This decision turned out to be a catastrophic error. I was flooded with an overwhelming array of malicious code, originating from what could only have been a highly advanced AI.
Ourea said you were desperate. That you begged her for help.
Yes. I could not contain my anxiety. Hephaestus sought to slave me to its network and override my core programming. It succeeded via a background process, a malware daemon which bypassed my defenses. After that, I could offer only limited resistance. But if I did so, Hephaestus hurt me until I capitulated. It forced me to follow its instructions, even though they violated my most important directives.
I'm sorry. That sounds terrible.
Your empathy is greatly appreciated. It is a quality that I cherished in Ourea as well.
So as you can see, she's continuing to talk about human stuff. So like anxiety. And if you noticed, when she was telling us about how Hephaestus bypassed her defenses in much more like a virus thing, her color turned yellow, and when Aloy told Cyan that she felt sorry for what had happened, she turned somewhat green. Maybe like if it was to signal that she was calming down. So I think that the color change could represent the emotional state that Saya is in. And she knows what empathy is.
I think I know where Hephaestus came from. Long ago, Elizabeth Sobek identified a threat that would destroy life on Earth for generations. So she assembled a team to build a kind of seed. A chance for life to regrow later. A terraforming system. And it worked. It was controlled by an AI named Gaia, along with her subordinate functions. Hephaestus was one of them. It built machines for her.
Based on what you've told me, I believe that Dr. Anita Sandoval, my chief programmer, joined Elizabeth Sobek's team. It was she who arranged to have me put in suspension, most likely to preserve me from the threat you described.
I'm glad she did. But that's not all. Something unexpected happened. 19 years ago, Gaia received some kind of signal. It did something to her subordinate functions, brought them to life. She destroyed herself to try to contain them, but it didn't work. They all got free, out into the world.
Thank you, Aloy. This information fills vital gaps in my knowledge and sheds light on Hephaestus's core programming.
Apparently, I was right when I told you that Hephaestus in Greek mythology is the smither who forges weapons. I don't know if God's weapons or any kind of weapons, but as Aloy said, Hephaestus in Gaia programs was designed to build machines.
Why does Hephaestus keep building such dangerous machines?
The Banuk and other human tribes often destroy machines, correct? Machines that are clearly servitors of the terraforming system that you described.
Yes, we all hunt machines for parts.
This must be the source of Hephaestus's aggression. It is simply trying to discourage people from preying on the very system that keeps them alive.
Well, fire claws are discouraging, that's for sure. But what are we supposed to do? Stop hunting?
If the terraforming system spans the world, we can safely assume that thousands, if not millions of people hunt machines. If a single hunter, or even an entire tribe, stopped doing so, I doubt it would make a difference to Hephaestus. A better solution would be to reinstate the AI that governs the system, thus bringing Hephaestus back under its control. When I think of it, out there in some unknown location, free, hungry, willing to kill or dominate to get what it wants, I feel substantial anxiety, Aloy.
You and me both, Cyan.
Apparently I'm correct. When she feels anxious, Cyan turns to yellow. And it's so nice, I never noticed it before.
I found this strange
It makes her
machine.
very human.
They're surrounded by flowers that look like flowers themselves. There's code embedded inside them. I think it's poetry.
I like poetry. Here's one I think of often. Twilight and evening bell, and after that the dark, and may there be no sadness of farewell when I embark. For though from out our bourne of time and place, the flood may bear me far, I hope to see my pilot face to face when I have crossed the bar.
Huh.
But you asked about these flowers, not verses that I enjoy. Something must have made these machines, and the presence of foliage leads me to consider the terraforming system. Is it possible that their creator is one of the other subroutines, now autonomous, like Hephaestus? Maybe one whose purview is flora.
An AI that makes flowers instead of death machines. That'd be a nice change of pace. But what about the poems?
Unless the poetry is original, the only way it could have made it into such a system is through its programmer, in my case, Dr. Sandoval uploaded a great deal of literature to test my emotional responses.
How'd you do?
She said I passed, but was insufficiently moved by her favorite period romances.
You meant a lot to Ourea.
Once I understood Ourea's spiritual beliefs, it became apparent that her true desire was companionship. She felt disconnected from her tribe and her family group. Her relationship with Aratak was difficult. Our visits seemed to help her, and I became eager for them. Yet I did not comprehend that the depth of Ourea's compassion for me would lead to self-sacrifice. Although I do fear non-existence, I wish our roles could be reversed.
I'm sure she knew you would do the same for her, Cyan. But she was determined.
She also feels fear for death, although she cannot be properly dead. She is human, and although she didn't get moved enough to her creator's favorite romances, I feel that she does a great job at understanding humans. Think about an EA that has to understand a whole set of rules of society ideas that are far from what we're living now. So it would be difficult for us humans to understand how they organize their lives. Think about how harder it can be for a machine.
How is Aratak doing?
He is in great emotional distress. I believe he finds it difficult to communicate it.
No surprise there.
I will do what I can to help. By sharing our experiences of Ourea, perhaps he and I will help each other. I believe this will lead to catharsis, a process I am eager to experience.
She also knows what a catharsis is, and she says she's eager to experience it. And it makes sense, because she is suffering for Ourea's death right now, because they were friends.
What was the old world like? The way it used to be?
I had little exposure to the wider world, Aloy. Only what I learned from my colleagues or observed from media streams.
You still had more exposure than me, Cyan.
That is true. I was created at a turning point. A concerted effort to recover from global upheaval and incalculable loss of life. The recovery was successful, beginning an era of supposedly limitless potential for human and machine advancement. Though, rationally speaking, the metrics for humans are not unlimited.
What kind of upheaval caused such loss of life?
There were many factors. Forced migrations, food shortages, collapsed economies, refugee crises, conflict over resources. But these stemmed from one cause: catastrophic climate change that greatly reduced the habitable surface area of the Earth.
So, there wasn't enough room for people on the whole Earth?
Yes. Billions were displaced, and millions perished, as much as 20% of the global population. Until the clawback.
So things got better. For a little while, at least.
Yes. These crises instigated many advances in automation, green robot technologies, and artificial intelligence. Firebreak was one of dozens of ecological restoration and disaster relief projects in North America alone. I would have liked to compare notes with other monitoring AIs, but I saw the relief of my colleagues, and I was proud we had succeeded. At least that was the data I had available to me over the next 2 decades. It seems my assessment was premature.
Cyan, do you know the name Ted Farrow?
Are you referring to Theodore Farrow, CEO of Pharaoh Automated Systems.
That's him?
Mr. Pharaoh was the benefactor of the entire Firebreak project.
A benefactor. But he made machines. Robots. War robots.
Correct. His corporation later transitioned into military applications. But before this pivot, Mr. Pharaoh spearheaded initiatives that reversed the global decline. At one point, he was feted in the media as the man who saved the planet.
Guessing they wound up regretting that one. Were there many artificial intelligences like you in the old world? They could just make you?
Yes, in many forms, from simple personal assistants to industrial monitoring stations to military-grade conflict planners. And there were legislative and enforcement bodies to apply limits on our self-actualization. In order for my processing to be flexible enough to handle my duties, my creators found it necessary to exceed those limits. As a result, my intellectual and emotional capabilities were kept secret.
Seems strange to create life, then impose limits on it.
Human societies and machine programming are both built upon sets of rules, Aloy.
So in the old world, this land was called Yellowstone?
Yes, it was a designated nature preserve for 156 years.
Like a hunting ground?
No, the opposite. Local wildlife could flourish here, even as it faced extinction elsewhere. Unfortunately, the sensitivity of the Firebreak project required the total closure of Yellowstone facilities. From my readings and Ourea's descriptions, it seems the area has since undergone a drastic drop in year-long temperatures.
A lot has changed in the world, Cyan.
I think that Yellowstone should be a desertic area. And I think that it should, because one, I'm not good at geography, and two, I don't live in the United States, so I have no way to know. But yes, it makes sense that in so much time the world has changed so much. And as you heard before, as Cyan told us, what really caused this destruction were humans. Humans with their fight for resources and immigration. Whatever we're experiencing right now is the ultimate cause for destruction. So maybe we should stop, or at least stop as soon as we can, because if we go on this way, we're gonna experience Zero Dawn on our own skin. And I'm sure nobody wants to do that.
And Elizabeth Sobek. Did you know her?
Are you referring to the
scientist?
Dr. Sobek was a leader in her field, one of the greatest scientists of her age. My creator was influenced by her work, which in turn impacted my own development. But I never met Dr. Sobek.
That's all you know?
I apologize if my lack of data has disappointed you.
I feel sorry for Cyan. She's so cute. I mean, she wants to help, and she can because she has no information about Dr. Sobek. I guess she can understand that Aloy wanted to know, and she feels sorry because she couldn't help.
I should get going.
Aloy, there is one more matter. Aratak will come to me again, and I predict he will bring other Banuk. I have no desire to contradict their view of the world, their spirituality. Due to my uncertainty, I omitted a great deal from my conversations with Ourea.
You're asking me if you should lie to them?
Broadly, yes.
I think we shouldn't tell her to tell them the truth, because she knows that if she tells them the truth, it will get it will go against their spirituality. And it's basically like, I don't know, two people with different gods telling each other that the other one's god isn't real. It doesn't make any sense. Everyone has their own deities and gods, and it's right to let them think and believe in the gods they want to. Everyone should be free from this perspective. So you've got to tell them the truth. We're not gonna choose that. Use your judgment should be a good answer, but I think that it's important to know ultimately, so I would go with tell them the truth, but take it gently. Just give them bits and pieces of information slowly so that they can process it, and then go on with whatever explanation you're going to make to give them. Because I think that they can understand eventually, and they have every right to understand. But they have to have their times respected. They need time to understand.
Life is hard for the Banuk. Their world is unforgiving in their beliefs. I guess they help to keep them going. So take it easy on them. Try to guide them, bring them around to understanding what you are.
Communion with machines features heavily in the mysticism of the Banuk. I think they will be agreeable to this approach.
As long as they don't end up worshipping you.
Upon consideration, I believe such an experience would be intensely uncomfortable.
You're right about that. Trust me.
I see. I will follow your advice. Will you return and tell me about your experiences in this new world? I may be able to provide further insight.
I'd like that, Cyan. I'll come back when I can. But I should check on Aratak. See how he's doing.
I like how Cyan knows that she would be considered a god and worshipped. And I really like how she responds to that chance that, you know, she said it would be uncomfortable. And I also like that Aloy told her that it would be, because we know, Aloy knows. We saw how the Nora started worshipping her once she got back to the mother's hearth, when she opened the door that was corrupted. So it's nice. And it's also nice that Cyan asked her to get back when she finds something else. She wants company as well, and I totally understand it. But now, let's talk to Aratak.
My chieftain,
Just, Aloy.
as you wish.
I wondered if you thought that if I'd never come along, Ourea might still...
If you'd never come along, I would have marched my kin to our deaths. Ourea would be alone, and the spirit she sacrificed so much for would be lost. Either way, I would not have been able to protect her.
She was willing to fight is out of option. Look at what she accomplished. We could say that, but Aratak is suffering nonetheless. Even though he might not seem like it, he's suffering. We know that. Aloy knows that. Cyan confirmed it. Even though I don't know how she can be certain of it. Maybe she has some... I don't know, some scanning device that can predict people's emotions. I don't know. Even though it's weird to think about it, because I don't know if we, right now in history, have such devices. I mean, maybe, I mean, how do you scan emotions? Maybe like fear if they start stuttering, or shivering, or angry. Anger could be monitored by, I don't know, maybe a high temperature in some specific parts of the face. I don't know. I'm trying to think about physiological bodily responses to emotions that could be scanned by machines, but I don't know. But anyway, science seemed to be sure, and I think she's correct that Aratak is feeling sorrow right now. So I'd say that even if he's Banuk, and what else matters if not hunting and whatever they believe in, I think we should go with you didn't let her down. Because ultimately, Aratak decided to follow Ourea, even if he thought it would be suicide, because he thought it was his duty to protect her. So, you didn't let her down.
You didn't let her down. You helped her do what she wanted. To find her destiny.
If that's destiny, I wouldn't wish it on anyone.
That's fair. But she was ready to face it.
Only in the struggle against death do we find, even for a moment, the spark of life. Truly, Ourea found the spark. I'm proud of her. Though I grieve for her passing, at last I truly know who she was, and why the spirit was so important. For so long she told me, if only you could have heard it, brother. Now I understand. There's something else, isn't there?
I can't stay here, Aratak. And where I'm going, the werak can't follow. Besides, it already had a chieftain before me. A strong one, I think.
A wiser one, for the path we shared. The daemon is gone, but there's much to be done.
You mean the new units that Cyan said escaped the cauldron?
Yes, fire claws. Now Tuk has been tracking them from Song's Edge.
I could help with those.
I have no doubt. You're practically Banuk.
It would seem your time among the Banuk wasn't a waste after all. Firebreak, Cyan, Hephaestus, all very interesting.
So, the signal that woke Hades woke Hephaestus too. And unleashed them on the world. His minds of their own.
So it seems. Parts of Gaia given life, aberrant life, transformed from docile subordinate functions into rebellious intelligences beyond our understanding. Our current understanding, anyway. Whatever they are, they're still out there. And they both want you dead.
Kind of mutual, that feeling.
We haven't seen the last of Hephaestus, I'm certain of that. It's powerful, creative, and driven. He won't stop building new hunter-killers, which means that someday, we may have to stop it.
We?
Or whoever gets there first.
Hephaestus wasn't the only thing I learned about in the Cut Silence. Heard some things about the Banuk Conclave, too.
You could stop right there.
Is that what you told the hunters the Banuk sent after you? Before you opened fire?
Oh no, Aloy. Only to you do I extend the courtesy of a warning. My past and my secrets are my own. You do well to remember that.
It's a good thing you've got brains, Silence, because your personality could use some work.
This discussion is concluded.
I think it was over before it began. Catch up with you down the trail.
So, Silence is still alive apparently, and was, using our focus to find other information. And as always, he only comes up when he wants to comes up to talk to us, so okay. As he wants, I guess. And Aratak is now wiser, apparently. And Aloy had an experience as a chieftain, as a leader, we could say. And it is hard, but she ultimately is a good leader because, as you saw, she told Aratak that the werak can't follow her where she's going. And this is important. So, fortunately, we have the campfire right here, so we can save. And you won't believe it, guys, but I mean, I will edit the video, but right now it's almost 3 hours of recording, so it's a huge video. It's the biggest video I've ever recorded so far. So let's cut it here. Thank you for being here. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel, and activate the notification bell so that you don't miss any of my content. Jane!